I'm going to ask Megan this question because I
Okay.
want to know the perspective of the Gen
Z.
Z.
Zed.
Why is it not
Thank
Zed?
you.
Sorry, it's Z
I'm
for
teasing.
me.
I'm teasing. So, like, because what you will never understand is that
Mhm.
when I was your age, or and younger, there were newscasts and newspapers that were considered to be sources of authoritative knowledge.
Mhm.
Where, you know, if Walter Cronkite said that men landed on the moon, then they landed on the moon.
Right.
Whereas today, there are no newspapers. Like, have you even read a newspaper? Like, I'm not being insulting at all. Like, when was the last time you, like, I haven't bought a newspaper in fucking
Can you
10 years.
read?
I know.
Have you? No,
Gen
Can
Z?
I'm
you know
not being
what?
insulting.
Can you
No.
I
read?
can't read. I never learned. No, of course I can read.
No, that wasn't my point. I'm sorry. What
No,
I'm saying
I
is,
know.
I haven't bought a newspaper in 10 years. So if
Right.
I'm old as fuck. So if I haven't bought a newspaper in 10 years, have you bought a newspaper?
No, I've never bought a newspaper. The only time that I've ever had to read a newspaper is when I was in grade school
Yeah.
and I had to either cut and paste things or I had to write a news article based on the articles that I saw. Otherwise, they're mostly printed. But you're right, you had that source of authoritative knowledge, whereas my generation questions every single thing, right? They look at the media and they're like, that's not authoritative. This is left-wing media. This is right-wing media. They view social media and what we can expose from our lives as truth, while kind of neglecting that the algorithms really cater to your beliefs.
Well, let me ask you a question then. If that's true, then how come like all the people that are going at these, you know, the protests that sometimes turn into riots, it's usually young people killing each other. I mean, that Kyle Rittenhouse thing, it was very weird because you had like this white 17-year-old kid killing two other white kids in their 20s, and they're all on, it's like either for or against Black Lives Matter, and yet they're all white. Like, it's so weird. Like, they're all young. So it's like, well, obviously you're not seeing the complexity of what's happening because they're going with guns to a protest.
That's pretty typical of human behavior, though, historically. Yeah. I mean, when you talk about, and this is where I disagree, it's not that I disagree. Yes, there was an authoritative voice when I was coming up. That authoritative voice had, up until very recently in my youth, told me that I was inferior and was one step up from a monkey. So the notion that an authoritative voice is a positive thing, no, it creates a social structure, right? But if you're outside of that social structure and what's considered positive, you are fucked. So for me, I'm again, yeah, it's just a different kind of fuckery. Looking at the history of human genocide, slaughter, enslavement, it's something new.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
but
you know what else is new?
Just before we go off of this, first of all, Lewis, I meant to say this ages ago. Sorry about your weak ankles. But there has to be some like we have to be sort of like as dark as it appears right now. There has to be sort of an age of enlightenment wherein, yes, the authoritative voices that were using that voice in an oppressive tone are now, because of the swing of where we are in terms of population, in terms of demographic, in terms of race and color, in terms of ability, is now seeing as a majority across all faces a lot more accepting. And so because of that, it's the argument that Obama was not for gay marriage. The people were for gay marriage, so he became very pro-gay marriage. So that's how that happened. And so there has to be, now that we have so many more choices, sadly, and not sadly, but like we have more choices in the way that we consume our media and our information. There now is a responsibility on our part to be able to look at it and go, which are the sites that are more trusted than others? Which
Ooh, human beings doing responsibility.
I know.
But the thing is, with the algorithms, and this is going back to how social media breeds narcissism, although it's important to question an authoritarian voice and to be more inclusive of more voices, and that's a really great thing to come about. The thing about social media is the algorithms, like I was saying, target specific views and specific tweets to you. So while the protesters who got shot would be having, you know, all of these justice for Breonna Taylor and all of those types of posts for justice on their feed, Kyle Rittenhauser would probably have all these conspiracies, and he would probably have all of why it's bad, I mean, all of that crap, right? Because it's so catered, and it makes you kind of believe that your way of thinking is how everyone else thinks, because that's all you ever see. And then
it's the echo chamber.
Yeah, and it creates a divide now because people are unable to see others' points of view and are so caught in their own. And
if people could just acknowledge on a personal level that, you know, I'm an asshole, it would make things so much, okay, I have this opinion, but I'm an asshole, so maybe I shouldn't take it so seriously.
That's literally my vision board.